Hello, I am Cindy Winter, the NCFR Conference Consultant, and I'm going to be walking you through the process of submitting your proposal. All the proposals are submitted online through Oxford Abstracts, the online submission database for NCFR Conference proposals. They've redesigned the database this year to improve your experience when you submit a proposal. Before you submit online, we want you to take a look at the proposal submission checklist. So I'm going to start at the NCFR database, and that's our web page that's online. And I've clicked on the conference. We now have the call for proposals, and you'll see you scroll down the submission process, the call for proposals, additional resources, and presentation topics. Now, go to the call for proposals, click on the full call for proposals, and then there'll be, you'll get the PDF of that. And if you go to page 4 on there, there is a checklist that tells you things that you should have ready before you submit your proposal online. So if you have all these things ready and at your fingertips, you'll be able to complete the submission process in just a few minutes. So we're going to click on Submit a Proposal. Up here, we're going back up to Submission Process. Submit a proposal, and you will enter your email address to register and put in your own biographical information. I'm going to be actually filling out these things, but they are just a sample. For this one, we will use a new address. We'll call it info@ncfr.org. And sometimes it'll pop up, but otherwise. So then you'll be asked to fill out some information. And so we create an account. Repeat the email. And then you type in the title. For this, because it's a general information, I'm going to put in my own information in this. So I put in Ms. and Cynthia Winter, my last name. Password, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you will put in one. It's a good idea. It says it must be 6 characters or more, and the other thing that you want to be sure you do with that is to have a combination of letters and numbers so that it's harder for someone to figure out what it is. Okay, so I've repeated my password. So now I click under Register, and here we go. So now you'll see the form, and it's not going to be like other years. There's not 2 steps. You don't register, get an email, and go back in, and several steps this year. It is so simple because you just keep on going. Now it says use the form below to make a new submission, and there's a welcome letter and that. Now, if this is your new proposal, keep going through the steps. But if you've already submitted a proposal, you can go back and amend it at any time, and you would just click on Amend a Previous Proposal. And you can make changes up to March 1st, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, so in the welcome letter, it gives instructions as to that fields that are mandatory have asterisks in there, and you won't go on. So the first part that you start with is getting the authors and of everything, and with their employers. We want complete information about all the authors. We need this for many reasons. So I'm going to start with myself, and I'm going to go again with my title, and then my first name, and then middle name. Middle initial is not required, but you can put that in. Okay, I'm going to be presenting, so I just check that box. And then I'll do my email again. We'll do this info at ncfr.org. Okay, my highest degree earned, I'll put that in. And the discipline, just my own. And okay, and then just keep going, scrolling down continually. Current position, I'm a conference consultant. Department is conference. And I don't have a license. I have a certification, but I don't have a license. Okay, my current employer is NCFR, and it's in St. Paul, Minnesota. And if you, both the state, province, and the country have pull-down menus, but if you start typing them in, you won't have to go through all that process. So now, if we want to include another author, we'll click here. And we want to be sure that we include all authors, co-authors that are in your presentation. And if you are submitting a symposium, we want you to fill out information for all authors and co-authors of the papers, each particular paper within your symposium, and then also include information for your discussant. So for the second author in here, I'm going to pretend that it's Jennifer Crosswhite, and so I'm putting in her information here, and all the information we need. She will be presenting, so we'll click that. Her email. And her highest degree is PhD. Her discipline is Human Development, Family Studies. Got it from Auburn University. Her current title is Director of Research and Policy Education. The department is Education. She doesn't have any license. And the current employer is NCFR, St. Paul, Minnesota. Again, if I just key in USA, it'll pop in and you don't have to go through everything. Okay, the next question we have is for the first author as to whether they are a student, new professional, and there's several different categories, and this is a pull-down menu, so you can just select, and I'm selecting professional. Now, the next thing that you will be asked to key in is your title. And you want this exactly as it's going to be in your proposal and every place else. It's a maximum of 100 characters, including spaces and punctuation. And this is used in printing, online, and printed programs. So I'm just going to go ahead with a simple, how can I do this, as a sample title. Okay, you'll notice also that as you click on each field, it'll usually come up and say that it's incomplete, and there'll be a box around it, but as soon as you finish it, you'll be fine. Okay, I'm just going to put in a bunch of garbage for my short proposal. You have up to 100 words that you can put in, and then it will quit. So I'm just putting in just a few. Then the next part is going to be uploading your long proposal. And this long proposal comes from your material. It must be in PDF, and that's for safety so that no one has any way of finding out your author, who the authors are, and also it will preserve the format of your paper. And so this is what we use for the people that are reviewing. There's instructions in here as to what the proposal should contain, also instructions as to how to write up a symposium proposal. So then you just click on the file, and again, choose it as a PDF. You find it in your own files. And I'm just doing this one, and then open, and then it goes in there. Okay, the next part is going to be 3 measurable objectives. And what you want to be sure is that you list things that you want your audience to get from this proposal. So one way for a measurable one would say, participants will. You could start out with a statement like that and then go on from there and list 3 of them. There are some samples of these on page 4 of the NCFR call for proposals, and there's a link you can click to and you'll get to it. Okay, so I'm doing my 3rd one now. But and so that takes care of that one. Then we move on. So as you can see, this is a very easy process compared to in the past. So your next thing will be your proposal focus. This is the type of study that you have, and there's qualitative research study, quantitative research study, mixed methods, systematic literature review, or an analysis of a theoretical or pedagogical approach. So now please note that if you qualify it as a qualitative research study or a quantitative research study, you must list the specific methodology. If you do the other 3, you will not need to answer the next 2 questions. Just to show you, I'm going to list this as qualitative research. So then I need to answer the question regarding the methodology, and I'm going to put in just the sample that was suggested. And if you did not, if you aren't using qualitative or quantitative, you can just skip these questions. And then you would go on and do the same thing with if you had suggested a quantitative, but I'm not going to because I'd suggested qualitative. Then the next thing that we have is the orientation of your proposal. Is it primarily research or practice oriented? So I'm going to put in research in there. So then the next part is going to be subject codes. And these best describe the focus of your proposal. They're long pull-down screens, and this is used to help when we match reviewers for the process, and also when we publicize, that it will tell what your topic is about. So you just go down here, and like I said, it's a long proposal. So I'm just going to put a first one in. Then if you want to narrow it down farther, you can add a second code. All 3 of these pull-down menus are the same. So then you can do that, and you can go up to a 3rd subject code. And so then if you don't find anything that fits in there, and there's many, many, many codes, but then you can write that in here. But hopefully you won't need to, because that makes it harder in the assigning reviewers and so forth. So hopefully they'll do that. But if needed, you can put it in there. Okay, the next question is your preferred presentation format. The question is mandatory and features a full-down menu. Now, before you come to the menu, there's a description of the different formats of NCFR, all of which are considered of equal value and reviewed using the same criteria. You will select your preferred format, and then you can fill out a second type of format you would consider. And the third part of the question is to check off any formats you wouldn't consider using. But I caution you, though, that the more choices in presentation format that you provide, the better your chance of being accepted if your review scores are high enough. And so you will choose from the formats. Now, there will be resource exchange roundtables, and roundtables are pretty much for specific sections. And so please, for those, it will be noted in these descriptions and also in the descriptions in the full conference call for proposals as to what it is. So I'm going to put posters first, and then I'll put a second choice of paper, or put a paper in here. And then unacceptable, I'll say a symposium and a workshop. So that takes care of that. Then the next part is that all proposals have to be reviewed by an NCFR section, the Theory and Construction and Research Methodology Workshop, affiliate councils, or students and new professionals. Now, please remember that for the SNP proposals, it must have a professional development focus only. If it's this topical area, it must be submitted to another section, because SNPs are only professional development. Now, if you want to submit to the affiliates or the Theory, Construction, and Research Methodology Workshop, there's separate submission processes, and those are described in the call for proposals, and so please watch those. Okay, so I'm going to just choose anything in here, and then we go to having, if you have any comments about maybe your research or something that you would like the section chairs and the reviewers to see, you can make comments in here, and then you can go on. The next question is confirming that your proposal has been approved by all authors. If you have a, if there are more than one author. And this is mandatory, so you'll want to check that box. Then the proposal status. We want material that's never been published before or presented before, and that you won't publish or present prior to the 2018 conference. So here's the pull-down menu. You choose, and hopefully you'll say no, but if you say yes, then you must write an explanation in the next question about details as to why. Maybe you've got a different focus or something that from what's been presented. But give a complete explanation so the section chair can know this information. Okay, if you or any of your authors has commercial interests or association that might pose a conflict of interest with the presentation, check that box. If you don't check that box, then you can just ignore the next question. But if you did check it, you have to give some details. So I'm not going to check it because we don't have anything there. Now, if you are someone living in a foreign country, if you need to have an official letter of invitation from NCFR to receive a visa, then you would check that box. And we would make sure that we send you what you need to get your data ready and that you can get your visa. And then the next question is, do you agree to send biographical materials? And hopefully you'll say yes, because we like to have as much information about people as we can. Okay, the next question is permission to publish. This again is another mandatory, and we want you to check it to give NCFR permission to reproduce short abstracts and for anything online or published for educational or promotional purposes, and that you also give them permission to record and reproduce in several ways, and that you would want to allow your abstract to be published on a website. Okay, the next question, which is the final one, is the declaration that the author will attend, or authors. And this, when you check this box, there are 4 criteria that you are agreeing to. I'm going to just talk about the second one, that if your presentation is accepted as a paper, symposium, workshop, lightning paper, and so forth, you cannot include copyrighted music, audio recording, or other material. This is because, especially if something is live streamed, that is not allowed. And so just make sure that you don't have any copyrighted music or recordings of that. Okay, then after you check that box, then we say thank you for submitting your proposal, and you will be notified by June 1st whether your proposal has been accepted or not. So after you, if you feel like everything is ready, you would click on Submit. And then as soon as you submit, you will see that Oxford is uploading your file. And then you'll be returned to the home page where you can view or amend your submission, or you could start a new submission. Now, we'll also on this page, once the decisions are made, that will be listed on there. So as soon as this happens, you will get an email stating that your proposal submission is complete. If you're missing steps, but click Submit anyway, you'll get an email stating that, and then you can go back in later and click on Amend a Proposal and complete the process. Please don't hesitate to call me at 612-759-8580 if you have any questions as you proceed. And again, we'll notify you by June 1st if your proposal is accepted. And good luck, and thank you.